I'm David Trickett. I serve as founder and president of the Jefferson Circle, which is a teaching practice that actually helps impart practical wisdom to those in the professions in this country and beyond. Professional identity, particularly when it comes to those who are being educated in law and will be practitioners in one or another venues in which attorneys are required, is really very important. It has to do not so much only with mastery of knowledge or doctrine and the application or skills-based learning. It has to do with the very way of being and matters of discernment and judgment and the capacity to serve the client very well, often by helping evoke from the client what is thought as important, what is yearned for, and often also noticing what is feared. It is the capacity to use everything one has learned in a way to serve the other for the better. Professional identity, I believe, actually comes about by virtue of a process of formation that is quite similar in its most significant respects across the professions. Within the area of law and legal education, I believe that one of the most important parts of formation occurs when one is in the presence of a more experienced or seasoned both theoretician and practitioner. Often those who have adjunct teaching positions, who are in fact daily employed in the wider world, tend to be more sensitive to ways in which law students can actually effectively apply what it is they learn from their otherwise very competent, theoretically oriented faculty. 30-some years ago, I was working at Tulane University in New Orleans, and the dean of the law school at Tulane at the time was one of the first people to require community pro bono service for the JD. That has become much more common, but back in the early 80s, that was not so common. One of the things I learned from that kind of process is that mentoring with faculty who really get the importance of serving outside one's walls of the academy, with practitioners who spend almost all their time outside the walls of the academy, can actually, if done in a certain way, be seen as essential for the experience of being a law student. There are some law students who are willing to do clinics, who are willing to be involved in external activity, but they may see this more as part of the card punching process that leads to a JD. What we need that can help change that, because I do not view that as terribly healthy, is to have some faculty, whether they are core faculty or adjunct faculty, help take students, at least metaphorically in hand, to see that part of what it means to be a professional privileged to practice law is to be committed to this wider world, without which there would not be reason for us to have the privilege of practicing law. So to help people see that their very core identity is tied up in such service through connection with mentors and advisors who are kind-hearted and very forgiving is a good thing. Should someone ask me what might be done to implement these rather interesting ideas that you propounded here, how can I, for example, either as faculty member or administrator in a law school, do something about it? My suggestion is to do a few things. Number one, develop what some organizations think of as a strategic trajectory, which is very different from a strategic plan. Trajectories are living arcs. They are not ossified documents. They are not like musty legal libraries. They are much more like living, whether LexisNexis or something else that is actually present and continually in reformation, renewal. And the arc, the trajectory, would actually focus upon the purpose for which one's institution exists. If the law school is freestanding, there would need to be a wider purpose. It isn't simply to produce attorneys. It is to produce attorneys for some bigger end. If the law school is part of a university, the chances are the university may be wrestling with its purpose even now, but certainly would likely have a sense of having some commitment to a bigger or common good. So first, develop, look at, revise, throw out, or otherwise engage your trajectory. A second thing that I would specifically do that can be done in conjunction with the first is realize, particularly if you are in a university where there are other professional schools, realize how you are in fact functioning in the same environment as those medical practitioners, as those business practitioners, as those theological practitioners, as those social work practitioners. Every profession is in fact facing the same horizon. It is the horizon of seeking to be relevant, of seeking to add value that is more than monetary but has societal value, and cross-pollination can be really important here. So setting up working or dialogue groups, as I was part of 40 years ago at Southern Methodist University among the School of Engineering, the School of Business, the School of Law, and the School of Theology, to see what are the common horizons we face. And actually, back then at that place, we developed a shared undergraduate curriculum that actually did something to help focus the formation of the identity of undergraduate students who would then go into their respective professional fields with a sense of the commonality that all professions are based upon. I'm really thrilled to have been invited to be on the advisory committee for Educating Tomorrow's Lawyers, and it is a wonderful experience. One of the things I've learned already, even though I've been on it sort of from its birth, is that this is now becoming a movement, and I think that is a very important metaphor for what needs to happen in legal education. It will not happen, as civil rights still hasn't happened, through legislation. It will not happen through ABA dictates. It will not happen actually even through accrediting standards. This is something that has to take place in a different way. ETL is actually taking steps to invite and include a growing number of law schools where there is a critical mass of people who actually are not merely excited, but also in some ways rightly terrified about the need facing legal education for its deep transformation. The one thing that has been very clear to me so far that we must continue to address, and I'm very pleased that in a few places I've been able to begin having a hand in some of this, is helping administrations of law schools, not merely faculty of law schools, actually engage this matter. Because what I've learned, being a chief executive twice in higher education in different settings, is that if you don't have the senior management, and in fact, if you don't have the governing board, so that takes it to yet another level, engaged affirmatively with what you're talking about, this will in fact remain a fringe movement. So part of our task to move forward is to engage as raving fans, administrations of law schools, and the governing bodies of the institutions to which the law schools are amenable, so that the faculty who are doing really good work and exciting things now can in fact have the environment, the infrastructure, and the sustainability to move forward the kind of transformative education for law students that we need.